Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I have a layout for you using Creating with Sketches. This is a sketchbook by Allison Davis, and I'm using sketch option 2-page number 1. I'm going to be using this Doodlebug collection called Pumpkin Spice, and I am just in love with Doodlebug right now. I feel like, I don't know, it's all speaking to me. I did pick up this collection from Peachy Cheap and then went over to scrapbook.com and picked up all of the extra pieces that went along with it. So the sketch that I'm going to be using on the left hand side, I did follow the original sketch, but this class, I think as Allison Davis is actually calling it a class, it gives you multiple options on how to kind of change up the sketch to work for your photos. So on the right, I'm using option number 18, which allows me to add additional photos. I think the original called for like 4 photos on the right, and I end up getting 6 photos on the right, and it's perfect for our pumpkin patch photos. I did also pick up the petite prints because even though I do love all of the fun papers with Doodlebug, they can be a little overwhelming at times, and so I like for my background pieces to be in the petite prints or on the B-sides of the paper, and then adding in the extra fun papers just as kind of accents like I did with this leaf paper here. This was the first layout that I put together after the crop that I went to recently, where I was able to organize all my photos. And I will tell you that this has been the most rewarding thing that I have done for myself in scrapbooking, simply because now I get to just sit down and create when I'm in my scrapbook room, as opposed to spending sometimes lots of time, 30 minutes, an hour, looking for paper, looking for photos, looking for sketches that fit the photos. Before, I was printing the photos at 4x6 and some at 3x4 and some even smaller, and then just trying to guess like how I would arrange them, but not really following a sketch. Whereas this is, I have actually printed the photos to match the sketch so they come out equally. And I know that a lot of people do that with being printing from home, but I just cannot get into the mindset of printing from home. I just feel like it's more expensive than printing at a store. Even though it probably comes out all in the wash, I feel like I always don't have the right paper or don't have the right amount of ink and things like that. I just can't get on board with printing at home. And I also like to just have pictures printed in bulk. All right, so now that I've rambled all about that, let's get back to the layout. So I have followed the kind of base of the sketch pretty closely, where there is a small piece on the far left, and then the kind of center piece that's covering up a majority of the left comes into the right side of the layout, and then the same pattern paper covers the expansion. So it's almost like you cut a little strip of piece of paper off and then stuck another piece of paper in it. So I cut a little piece of the blue off and stuck the brown in it. And I don't know if that's how the sketch was intended. I don't know if like it was supposed to be multiple pieces of paper, like my little piece over here on the far left, which is blue. Was it supposed to be a different color? I don't know. This is the way that I interpreted it. And I think that I really like this background. And I feel like this is something that I would do again as a layout, maybe not using this photo placement, but using this particular background layout of just cutting out that little piece and moving it over to the far left. The left-hand side of the layout does call for, I think, 2 of the 4 photos to be matted. I decided to just go ahead and matte all of my photos. I went ahead and put them all on a piece of white cardstock, and I probably should have planned it a little bit better and been able to use that white cardstock on the background, but I wasn't thinking about it. So I just kind of put it down and then used my We Are layering guides to cut around the photos so that I have a perfect 1/4 inch border around each of the photos. I will tell you that that placement that I just laid the photos out in is pretty much how it was placed in the sketch, but I end up changing it around quite a bit to incorporate my title and other elements that I wanted to add. And that's what I really liked about this sketch, was the photos were just kind of placed very differently than what I'm used to. Usually I do a grid or I place them kind of close by each other, and there were large spaces around these photos, and then they put the embellishments around the photos, which is just, again, very different than what I normally do. So once I get the photos down, like I said, this is kind of what the sketch calls for. And then the title was up there above like the pumpkins. And then there was a bunch of embellishments and your journaling down there, kind of where the truck is now. But that all gets moved around here in a second. I love that truck with the pumpkins in the back. And I love that the size of it because it really does kind of be a focal point. And then over on the right, I had a leaf and a tag that just says pumpkin, but both of those are going to ended up changing. I had these chipboard pieces and pumpkin is really big. I didn't realize how large those letters were until I got everything down. They are Doodlebug letters. They're chipboard letters that I picked up from Tuesday Morning a long time ago. So the colors worked perfectly with the layout and I knew that I wanted to use them. So I had to rearrange my photos to make them fit. So what I did was I picked up all of the photos except for this photo of the pumpkins. And a quick story about that. I probably looked like an idiot because I had stacked all of these pumpkins and I was just sitting in the pumpkin patch just taking random photos of it because I knew I wanted to do a layout with pumpkins and I didn't want just the typical like us hanging out in the pumpkin patch. I wanted these like fun photos. And I've watched all these videos on Instagram and TikTok of like photo tricks on how to get your photos really well. And this one was actually, I turned my phone upside down and I tilted it so that you can really see like the blue sky. I just love that photo. So I knew I wanted to showcase it. So I put the pumpkin really large across it. And then I added the photo above it where my nephew is holding the little tiny photo in front of my niece and she's just like mesmerized by the pumpkin and I just love the look on her face in that particular photo. And then I also took photos of, they had some signs that said pumpkin patch this way. So I took a photo of that. And then there's also the photo of her dressed as a pumpkin in the pumpkin patch. So my title is It's Pumpkin Time. And I used really tiny letter stickers for the word it's, and then some vinyl feeling stickers that are in like a lime green. So once I get the title down, then I start adding the photos around it to kind of fill in the space. And that's what I really got from the sketch itself. Like I said before, it called for these photo placements and then all of the embellishments to fit around it. I start working on this small little cluster on the right hand side. And I will tell you that's the only thing that happens over there on the right is that small cluster. And that's what the sketch called for, was this small cluster, because I feel like the left hand side is so busy. There's so much going on that you kind of just need just a little bit over to the right. Now I did struggle with that little cluster because those leaf paper is so busy. And I actually end up taking up both the leaf and that pumpkin tag and switching it out for something else. Because the word it's was so small, I was trying to really build up that cluster. I first started out with a heart. I didn't feel like that had enough. I wanted to bring the blue to that section so that like your eye is drawn to that owl, but then you can see right next to the owl is the word it's, so it's part of the title. And I feel like because the owl is blue, it brings all of that together. So I went ahead and added the owl directly underneath the P. So it kind of looks like his branch is coming out of the edge of the P. I also pulled out these enamel shapes in some different leaf shapes and added those around the layout, kind of following the sketch as well as to where like some of the placements were. And I was really loving the way that that came out. I feel like I've said that multiple times in this video, but I will tell you that like this layout is one of those layouts that like really got me excited about scrapbooking, and I was just really getting into it, and I'm loving the Doodlebug and I'm loving getting back into my room. And there's just been so many things that I've struggled with over the last couple years that like being back in my scrapbook room and enjoying the process again is just really making me very, very happy. So this is where I go ahead and take up those pieces. I just wasn't liking the way that it sat there. I tried the wagon that had the pumpkins in it, but that didn't work. So I went with this like lime green. I feel like that pop of green really helped with it. I feel like the leaf that I had there before kind of faded into the leaves that are there, but for some reason this lime green just pops against it. And then I went ahead and used this brown tag that says pumpkin kisses. It was supposed to be like a conversational bubble, but I went ahead and cut off the piece that like made it that and just left it as like a rounded tag. Now I'm looking through my enamel shapes and I pulled out some blue gemstone colors, some green sparkly ones, and then also some orange gemstone colors. They fit really well in each one of those clusters. As I'm pulling those out, I do want to tell you guys that I decided to join Nicole's collaboration, and I am super late on this first month, but I will be jumping in on February 1st and being involved with the collaboration for the rest of the year. This one going up super late just because I didn't know that it was going on, but then just know that February 1st I will be joining all the others, and I will link all of them below so that you can check out all the other people who used this particular sketch and how it came out. Nicole also turned me on to this die. It cuts out like small little strips of paper. She has created a Google Sheet where you can just type in the information into the Google Sheet, and then it puts it perfectly in place where this die will cut it out. So it makes cutting out your strips super, super easy. I don't use the whole die for my journaling. I glue 2 additional ones to my journaling piece, so there's really some depth to those journaling pieces. I did go ahead and ink the edges, and I had a lot of journaling on this one, and so I went ahead and put some in the bottom left as well as the top right. So my journaling just says, Harvest Holler is a local real working farm that we visit every year. This year, Mom, Jennifer, Eli, Nevaeh, and I were joined by Eli's friend Levi. The pumpkin patch has hundreds of different pumpkins to choose from. And then up in the top right hand side, I said that Mom and Eli struggled, and I put that in quotations, to pick up the pumpkin they chose, while Nevaeh was the cutest pumpkin in the patch. All right, everyone, so here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. I will tell you guys that I am so happy that you guys have gone back and watched some of my older videos. My watch hours have soared, and I am so appreciative of that. I'm about a quarter of the way to where I need to be, so keep on watching those older videos, getting inspiration from those. If you want to leave comments on them, I am going back and reviewing all those comments. So if you want to say anything to me, if you want to tell me other layouts that you want me to complete, if you have ideas for me, feel free to leave me a comment below. All right, if you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.